Hi, in today's lesson, you're going to learn all about the IELTS speaking test. You will learn about the challenges and the solutions. I will give you techniques that you can use to get a better grade. So what is the IELTS speaking task? The speaking test is in 3 parts. It's a standardized test, which means the format never changes. It's a one-to-one, face-to-face interview, regardless of whether you're doing the written paper or on the computer. And it lasts between 11 and 14 minutes. What is the test format? Okay, so part 1 is the introduction, and you will have basic interview questions about familiar topics. This lasts about 4 to 5 minutes. It's designed to help you relax and feel comfortable in the exam so you can do your best. We want you to show us the best you can do. Part 2, called the long turn. Here you have 1 minute preparation time followed by 1 to 2 minute talk on a topic chosen by the examiner. So in total, it is between 3 and 4 minutes. And finally, part 3, which is a discussion on abstract or general questions loosely related to the topic of part 2 and lasts about 4 to 5 minutes. Another constant is how you're going to be assessed. The speaking test assessment criteria are fluency and coherence. This is the speed, flow, and progression of your speech. It is the ability to link ideas and use language to form coherent, connected speech. This is how a natural speaker sounds. Lexical resource. This is a fancy way to say vocabulary. You are assessed on the range and precision of your vocabulary to express meaning and attitude. Grammatical range and accuracy. This is the range of grammatical structures you use and how accurately and appropriately you can use them. Pronunciation. This does not mean your accent is being assessed. No, but pronunciation can be wrong. If you mispronounce words, the word stress is wrong, the sentence stress is not correct, or intonation is wrong. Basically, how understandable you are. If there are errors in pronunciation, then understanding can be impacted. And that is the most important point, that you are understandable. If we look at the IELTS grades against the CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference, we can see that IELTS grade 4 equates to a top A2 grade, up to a C2 grade, which is equivalent to a grade 9. Cambridge University did some research on how long it takes to get from one level to another. For motivated adult learners, they typically need between 100 and 200 hours of guided learning to get from one CFR level to the next. As you go up the levels, you need more hours to get to the next one. To get from A1 to A2, it typically requires 100 to 150 hours of guided learning, but it can take 180 to 260 hours to get from B1 to B2. So to go up the band grades in IELTS requires many hours of learning. Motivated is the key word here. It requires motivation and hard work. For each of the IELTS assessment criteria, you are assessed on a scale from 1 to 9. Then your overall score is the average of these scores. So all 4 assessment criteria are equally important. It is important to understand what examiners are looking for. You can look at the band descriptors for each level. That way, you realize what examiners are looking for. This is the actual document examiners will use. For example, a band 8 score in lexical resource uses a wide vocabulary resource readily and flexibly to convey precise meaning. Uses less common and idiomatic vocabulary skillfully with occasional inaccuracies. My IELTS lessons are helping you to maximize your score in the test, but you still need to actually learn the language. There is no getting away from actually learning the language. We are going to look at each part of the test, but specifically through the lens of fluency and coherence. Looking at band levels 5, 6, and 7, they mention the ability to keep going, maintain flow of speech, or speak at length. To do this, you need to have ideas. You need to know what you're going to talk about. How can we develop fluency? So one way to think about fluency is to generate and support ideas. And what about coherence? Well, coherence means connecting, ordering, organising and structuring ideas. The key to fluency and coherence is ideas, and coherence is how you structure those ideas. So now we're going to look at each part of the test and help you to keep on speaking. Speaking Part 1. Introduction and Interview. This is the easiest part of the speaking test. It's designed to help test takers overcome their nerves. There are basic questions about familiar topics. Many test takers don't take this part seriously, but you should. It's 4 to 5 minutes, and so it's a third of the test, and therefore a third of the marks. To show you what I mean by this, let's imagine a test question. Let's look at a very common question. What's your favourite food? Pasta. What do you think of this answer? It's too short, and all you did was demonstrate that you understood the question. Okay, let's try again. What's your favourite food? My favourite food is pasta. What do you think, guys? So basically, you just repeated the question and added a word on the end. You produced no independent language. There was nothing for the examiner to assess, as you didn't produce any language. You did not use the opportunity to maximise the language you produced, so as a result, you would score very badly. We need to expand our answer. And how can you do this? I have a technique which will help you do this. It is the 5 W's and the 1 H. This is what, why, who, where and when, and the H is how. Let's look at another very common Part 1 question. What is your favourite free time activity? So instead of saying, I like dancing, what could you say? Well, you could expand your answer using the 5 W's and 1 H. What kind of dancing? Salsa and ballet? Why do you dance? As a way to relax, to express happiness, enjoyment, fitness and passion? Who do you dance with? Friends or maybe a significant other? Where do you dance? At home, maybe in dance studios? When do you dance? Weekends and maybe twice a week? H is for how. Now you're not going to get up and show the examiner how you dance, so you could see this one as how long have you been dancing? So which answer is better? I like dancing or this one? Obviously this one, but it's too long to say all this and smacks of a memorised answer. 2 to 3 sentences is best, otherwise it doesn't sound right. Pick 2 or 3 most relevant. So you might say, I like dancing, especially salsa and ballet. I dance with friends or my partner, and I find it's a great way to relax, unwind, and even express happiness. Okay, so moving on to speaking Part 2, the long turn. It's 1 to 2 minutes long, and you have 1 minute preparation time. You can take notes which are not assessed. Some paper and a pencil is provided. You will be given the full question on a cue card, including subpoints. It is all about personal experience or feelings. It is not a general knowledge test. It is a test of language. So I think the biggest challenge you face is running out of things to talk about because you don't have ideas. Remember, one of the assessment criteria is fluency and coherence. What is one simple solution? It is not the actual speaking. It is the time we get before, the preparation time. The solution is improving your note-making ability. Note-making is vital. There is a direct correlation between the quality of the notes and the quality of the talk, because it is a direct reflection of your thought process. Organised and clear notes equals organised and clear talk. If you can do this beforehand, then it means you don't have to think of ideas and speak at the same time. It is like a safety net. You can always check your notes. Okay, so let's think of some note-making strategies. Firstly, do not write full sentences. You do not have time for that. Cover all of the points. You don't have to do that, but it's the easiest way to speak for 2 minutes. You have been provided with a framework. All you need to do is plug in the information. I would recommend that you follow the same sequence as the questions on the cue card, as they are always very systematically and logically structured. If you change the sequence, as it's not mandatory to follow the sequence, you risk repeating yourself or maybe missing one of the points. Write at least 2 pieces of information for each point and include a key vocabulary section. Okay, let's see what I mean. Let's give you an example of good note-taking. Here is an example cue card. Describe a person you know who you think is successful. Say who that person is, how often you see them, what that person does, and why you think they are successful. Here are notes A. Mum, twice a year, businesswoman, started her own business. This student has a very high level of English, maybe band 8, but he ran out of things to say in 28 seconds because he underestimated the importance of taking notes. So now let's look at notes B. So instead of saying just mum, what could you say? Her name is Charlotte, she's 59 years old. How often do I see her? Well, growing up I saw her every day, but now I see her maybe 2 or 3 times a year, often around Christmas, because we live in different countries. Instead of businesswoman, what could I say? Well, you could describe her business. She's a farmer and has her own sausage business. She sells to Marks and Spencer's. She's been doing it for the past 5 years. The name of the company is Charlotte's Super Sausages. Why is she successful? She has a vision that she is committed to. She has no connections, so she's had to do everything herself and works long hours. Here we have a vocab section, so independent, dedicated, creative and hardworking. These are all words I know I want to use. So which set of notes is better? Well, obviously B. Was it difficult to do? No, we just forced ourselves to come up with 2 ideas per question. In the previous example, we used bullet points, but there is a whole variety of ways you can take notes. You can use mind maps, use a quadrant, a flowchart, whatever works best for you. The other thing I want to focus on is the technique of visualization. You can learn to visualize or imagine what you're talking about. What details or examples can you give? This technique is so powerful. It can even work when we're not familiar with the topic given. It can help us make things up. It's a language test and not a truth test. Let's look at another example. Describe a magazine you like reading. You should say, what type of magazine is it? How often do you buy it? What type of articles it has? And why you like reading it so much. Why do most learners struggle with this card? Because they don't read magazines anymore. They don't even read digital ones. So can a test taker say, I don't want to talk about this? No, they have to respond to the card they are given. So what do they do in that case? They need to be ready to make something up. It doesn't have to be true. Use visualization. So take something you're interested in and turn it into a magazine. For example, if you love movies, make up a movie magazine. Remember to say 2 things about each point. So a movie magazine, you can come up with a name, maybe Flicks or Movie Time. What kind of articles would you have in a movie magazine? Well, reviews for sure, interviews with the actors, celebrities, directors. So you need to fill out these ideas and give more information. You could say who your favourite actor is, Brad Pitt, and maybe some random facts, like he had to dress up as a giant chicken for a job before he was famous. What's your favourite movie? Maybe it's 7 Samurai. Or maybe you could talk about a movie you recently watched that you liked. So possibly something like Parasite. And notice I have a vocabulary section with the vocabulary I want to use. So in-depth, wide-ranging, extensive. So let's see how we can use these notes to answer a Speaking Part 2 question. My favourite magazine is called Flicks. It comes out every month. And there is an end-of-year special to review the best films of the year. Every issue features an in-depth and wide-ranging interview with either a movie star or a famous director. I was very excited about last month's issue because it had an interview with Brad Pitt, who happens to be my favourite actor. One thing I remember from the interview is the fact that he had to dress up as a giant chicken for a job he had before he started acting. I learned that his favourite movie is Seven Samurai, a Japanese classic that coincidentally is my favourite movie of all time as well. The magazine also has an extensive movie review section that covers both Hollywood as well as international cinema. It was through one of their reviews that I discovered Parasite, a South Korean satire about class conflict. It's probably the best thing I've watched recently. So I spoke for about 1 minute, but you need to push yourself to add more detail. You need to paint a picture. So if you like football, make it a football magazine. If you like fashion, make it a fashion magazine. It doesn't have to be a real magazine. Remember, it's a language test and not a truth test. So note-taking and visualization are key to speaking part 2. Moving on to speaking part 3. So speaking part 3 is a discussion linked to speaking part 2. Let's assume that in speaking part 2 you were asked, what was a film you watched recently? What do you think would be a speaking part 3 question? Would it be, how many times have you watched the movie? What was your favourite part of the movie? Or what impact do movies have in society? A speaking part 3 question would be, what impact do movies have in society? Not follow-up questions to part 2. The others are follow-up questions. You are going to be asked abstract or general questions. What is the biggest challenge with speaking part 3? The biggest challenge is the answers are too short, often underdeveloped, incoherent answers. Remember, in speaking part 1, we needed 2 to 3 sentences, and in part 3, I would say you would need even longer, 5 to 7 sentences. So what is the solution? This is very similar to writing task 2. So in writing task 2, you are writing down your answers, and in speaking part 3, you are saying your answers. The challenge is short, underdeveloped ideas, and the solution is to use examples to support your ideas. How does the use of examples help? Well, it makes your ideas clearer, more relatable. It makes them more persuasive or convincing. It gives structure. Examples make ideas more interesting and engaging. How does the use of examples help? Well, it helps you to expand your answer and speak for longer. So writing task 2 and speaking task 3, examples work for both tasks. The challenge is to have coherent answers. In speaking, it's much easier to have an incoherent answer. In writing task 2, how do we have coherent answers? We write with an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. There is a coherent structure. We use paragraphs to organize our ideas. So in speaking part 3, we need to do the same. We need to think and speak in paragraphs to keep it coherent. We present an argument and then we expand it, and we can do the same thing when speaking. Let's look at a typical part 3 question. How have shopping trends changed over the past decade? Well, if you were speaking in paragraphs, your first paragraph might be online shopping, convenience and options, and maybe Amazon. Paragraph 2, mall culture. People go to malls instead of local markets and shops in the town centre. Even small towns have malls now. And paragraph 3, international brands, global recognition and availability. Louis Vuitton, Supreme, some of the brands that you could give as examples. Here is a possible first answer. There have been many changes in shopping trends, like online shopping and shopping malls. Also, the availability of international brands. Shopping malls are very convenient, and so is online shopping because you can shop from home. Shopping malls have become very popular. Here is another possible answer. Well, although many of us now probably take it for granted, the most significant transformation in the way we shop has actually been the growth of online shopping. Because you can order literally anything under the sun and get it delivered wherever you want. Many people instinctively log on to websites like Amazon when they need to buy something. And another major change is the increasing influence of what I would call mall culture. In many parts of the world, people, particularly from the younger generation, prefer going to the miles over local markets. And now even smaller cities and towns have started building miles. So what do you think of those two answers? The first one has 3 ideas and the second only 2, but it was incoherent in how I presented it. In the second one, I spoke in paragraphs. I spoke about one point before I moved on to another point. So how can you improve your speaking in the IELTS test? Well, firstly, familiarise yourself with the band descriptors. Know what the examiners are looking for. 2, self-assessment. Record yourself speaking so you can then go back and listen. Did you repeat yourself? Were there pauses? Did you give an example? This is something you can do on your own. Feedback can come from your peers or yourself. 3, expand your answers using the 5 W's and 1 H. Use examples in part 3. 4, practice note-making and the technique of visualization. 5, use checklists like this one so you remember what you need to do. And lastly, remember, speak naturally. Pretend you're talking to a friend. So here are some checklists for the IELTS speaking test. Part 1, did I produce 2 to 3 sentences? Did I repeat words? Did I pause or hesitate? Did I sound natural? In part 2, did I make notes? Did I speak for long enough? Did I cover all the points? Did I repeat words? Did I pause or hesitate? And did I give details or examples? Part 3, did I produce 5 to 7 sentences? Did I organise my ideas? Did I pause or hesitate? Did I give details or examples? So how can you prepare for the IELTS test? Well, the British Council has a brilliant website with loads of resources and has a dedicated area to IELTS preparation called IELTS Ready. I'll put the links down below in the comment section. Also my YouTube channel, of course, which is all about learning English and many grammar details you need to know for any exam. Please do check it out. So that's it for today. I hope you feel more confident for the IELTS speaking exam. And if you want more help with IELTS or learning English, check out these lessons here. Take care and see you very soon. Bye-bye.